Is Mamurjon Rahimov is here. I am lecturer of marketing in the MBA program. Let's get to know each other. I'm sure throughout the semester we'll know each other better. But why don't we start with ladies, right? Tell me about your name, your previous university, and why you came here.
My name is Rahimov, and so I'm graduated of this university.
Okay. So I have few familiar faces here.
Okay, so I decided to master my knowledge and apply it to this course.
Thank you. Excellent choice. Interested in business. Okay. Great. Thank you. Ready?
I'm Kajal from Korea, and I came here 7 months ago.
7 months ago.
To study
Okay. Actually, I have some Korean guests that tonight I'm taking to the airport. So I have to rush, so they're not late for plane. All right. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rahimov, and I have visited the University of 7Habits. But I chosen this university as I'm master degree of business and management. That's why I'm here
Excellent.
for my career.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Rahimov. I'm from China. I graduated from one language university in China.
Oh,
I have been president for more than 5 years
wow.
for working one oil and gas company. So I think in the future I will work stay here more years. Yeah, I do not want to waste the time. Want to learn something.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's one of the strengths of our program, right? So
Yeah.
you get to keep your job and get
Yeah.
the masters on the
Yes,
side.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Koshida. I graduated in 2011, and I remember your lectures.
All right. You see, people remember my lecture.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why you came back. To hear more lectures. Okay. Very good.
That's for sure.
Thank you, Hoshida. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Young Yu-sung. I'm from South Korea. I'm working here in International Cooperation Agency and
What agency?
Korea International Cooperation Agency.
Koika.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And I want to be a good manager. So I'm
Very good. And your previous university?
my university is Daejeon University in Korea.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, guys.
Hi, my name is Sardor. I graduated Tashkent Financial Institute. Now working in Korean Development Bank.
Wow, good. A lot of career connections here. All right, and why did you come here?
To get new knowledge.
New knowledge. Very good. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aziz. I'm a graduate of this university, BIS faculty. I'm currently employed as IT and marketing manager, and there's a demand for me to increase my knowledge, so that's why I started this course.
Excellent. Thanks.
My name is Daler. I graduated from Boston State.
What state?
Boston State. I'm here to broaden my horizons.
Oh, that's very philosophical response. Thank you. Ladies?
Okay, my name is Nikita Stavlova. I have been working here for many years.
Here.
Yes, I'm your colleague, right? But
Alright.
language here.
All right.
So I graduated from the National University of Uzbekistan, and I'm here. I guess nothing to add, just to get a new knowledge.
And
right?
plus you get discount. All right.
Yes.
All right. You see? Why you do it? Okay. Thank you.
My name is Farida. I graduated from the University of World Languages. I came here to change my direction and start a career.
Change direction. See? Okay. Thank you.
I'm Martina Uzbeka. I'm also graduated from the World Languages University. I'd like to study business. That's what I think.
Study business. Okay. Great. Thanks.
My name is Rahimov, and my background is also language, but I'm here because of my interest towards business
right? So you see, in Uzbekistan, women are becoming more active in business, you know. Nowadays, you know, even driving, they're all over the place, you know. Like you're at the traffic light and you see women on all sides, you know. Oh my God. So great. Let's go.
Hello there. My name is Bobur. I graduated by it. I decided to continue my studies due to circumstances related to my work and
What kind of
reach my-
circumstances? What kind of circumstances? Going international or something?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. You see, I guessed right.
and
Okay.
enrich my knowledge, theoretical knowledge.
Very good.
Hello everyone, my name is Bakhtiar. I have graduated from the University of Tashkent Technical University in Tashkent, which is named after Gavani. My major was management there, and currently I'm employed by Westminster University. I work in the Learning Resource Center as a customer service officer. The reason why I chose this faculty is to study business more, which will benefit me in many ways.
Excellent. You see, I just want to point out that I respect this university a lot in the way that it develops its employees. It tries to help in every way it can. For example, one of the best examples is we have a colleague who is now teaching part-time. His name is Odilbek. Okay? He started in the copy room. And then he became assistant to registrar. He was doing the paperwork, and then he worked in all the spheres. He worked in the library, and then he got the master's degree on the side. He went to the United States. He came back and he got master's here as well because we gave generous discount. He got a master's in linguistics there, and then master's in business here, and eventually he became full-time lecturer. Right, and then now he's employed by a Russian company, Lukoil. He's an HR manager there, assistant manager. So he's our part-time lecturer. So, and there are many examples like that. So it's a good thing. And recently we celebrated Teachers' Day in Uzbekistan, right? So, and it was really great to receive all these phone calls and gifts, and it was just a nice thing to feel that you're making a difference in people's lives, and they remember. And I see you have different careers, you have different backgrounds, but in the future, whatever you do, I advise you to do guest lectures at least in a local university, one of the especially English-speaking universities, so that you don't forget English and practice, and you stay in touch with the, you share your experience and knowledge. That's how I started teaching it in Uzbekistan. I was working in Korean company Uzdeu joint venture cars. So I worked there for several years, and I was a part of Matisse project. And we brought this Matisse to life. I know this car from drawings, and when I went to United States, and I was absent for many years, actually 7 years I was in the United States, Chicago. When I came back, I see this streets full of Matisse cars, so it was really pleasant, because before going it was just a project, and we got a Korean Exim Bank credit, $40 million, and we had some money that we added, so it became very successful. It's actually a best-selling car of Uzdeu in Russia and in Uzbekistan. So right now you might get a Malibu or Gentra in one day, but for Matisse you have to wait in Uzbekistan, even if you have all the money and all the paperwork, because there's a very strong demand. And I have a Matisse car in my collection, and it is custom made. Like they ask me what kind of engine you want. Do you want air conditioning inside? What kind of seats? The color. So I got to choose because I work there. I'm really proud. So I'm now working here part-time. I worked here full-time 8 years. Now I'm at the Corporate Governance Center down the street. Before you reach this Dedeman, not Dedeman, Grand Mir Hotel. Before you reach there, at the intersection on the right side, there's a white building. 5-floor building, so it's corporate governance center. It's also MBA program there, but it is full-time MBA, and we teach mostly representatives from local corporations, Uzbekistan Railways, Airways, Uzbek Energy, oil and gas, and so on. So they needed help there to develop the school, so I went there full-time. So I visit Westminster University to teach MAIB and marketing. But the topic today, the topic I would like to share with you today, this is the last topic of your induction. So I hope you had fun during induction week. All right, and I tried to make mine light. All right, so I'll try not to take much of your time. Plus, I have to take a couple of people to the airport tonight. So I tried to illustrate them with pictures. Right, I tried to make it lighter. You'll get a lot of text in my slides later on. The reason I chose this topic, and I thank Wyatt administration for supporting me in this, is that I myself benefited from these habits. You know, in Albert Einstein's words, education is what remains after one has forgotten everything he learned in school, meaning even graduate school. Right? That's one of the best definitions of education. Albert Einstein said, it is what is left after you forgot everything you studied. And if I look back, this is one of the things, the 7 habits are, these habits are the things that I still remember, I still try to apply, do my best to apply in every aspect of my life. And it helped me in my personal life, in academic life, in professional life, and in every way. That's why I decided to share it with you. And I renamed it a bit, so 7 Habits of Highly Effective Students, but actually it is based on a famous book. When I checked recently, this book sold over 25 million copies. I think that's only in English, and it was translated into dozens of languages, and electronically so many people downloaded it illegally, and audiobooks and all this. So, but this is officially, just English version was sold over 25 million copies. And it is considered by many experts to be one of the best books written in the end of 20th century, and still remains in one of the top 25 books ever written on business and personal management. And I was lucky to encounter this book in 1990s, early 1990s, in the university. We had some American, let's say, colleagues, or they were educators as well. So, and they saw the desire to learn. Like many of you today said, you are here to learn. So, they saw the desire to learn in me and in my friends, and they said, you might want to like this book. Okay? And that time it was kind of still just came out, but already famous. So I read this book in 1990s, and this is my second presentation about this book. First time I just presented as is, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and at that time we didn't have this kind of equipment, we didn't have this kind of fast computers, flat screen and everything. I just wrote on a poster and I presented it on the board. And I recently found it in my archives, so I'm still keeping this a presentation that I made maybe say 23, 24 years ago about this book. And many people liked this presentation, and one girl liked it so much she became my wife. So, I'm kidding, but it's true. It was one of the presentations that I really liked and she really liked, and we are applying this together now. So it is still famous, and it is well read by MBA students and by CEOs. This is the author. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2012. But his legacy remains. His son and his colleagues, his children are continuing his work. His son, Sean Covey, he wrote a lot of books continuing this teaching of developing habits. I'm sure many of you have read this one, Dale Carnegie, right? First of all, how many people have read 7 Habits? 7 Habits, not yet? Okay. How about Dale Carnegie? Dale Carnegie. All right. 4 people, 5 people. 5 people have read Dale Carnegie, so you can relate to Dale Carnegie. It's also an excellent book, but this was written, at the turn of the 20th century, in the beginning of the 20th century. So 7 Habits was written in the end of 20th century, and the difference is not just in years, but also in approach, right? The approach was different. So this is the cover of the book. It's still published, and it's sold today because it's also very helpful in getting around and being successful in business and personal life. When I first, of course, read this one, and then, in American books, marketing is a big thing in book selling as well, in book industry. So in the back, or usually in the cover, they have praise, good words of the famous people who got the first copy and read the book, and they put their opinion there. Some people put one sentence, some people like one paragraph, and so on. And I remember reading for the first time before opening the book. I read the cover just to see what was it about. And one of the praises, I was impressed by this praise. One famous person, after reading 7 Habits, he said, "Goodbye, Dale Carnegie." Okay? And at first I did not understand why, but later, after finishing reading this book, I could really compare these 2 books, because Dale Carnegie, he advises you basically to smile a lot, to look in the eye when you're talking, to shake hands, firmly. It's more like mechanical from like outer, look happy, look friendly, this kind of, and this really helps in many cases. But Stephen Covey, he actually wrote and he taught. He was a corporate teacher, he was a personal coach for many CEOs in many corporations. He taught to be more effective, all right? To change from inside, to change your habits. In that way, the impact of 7 Habits was more profound on the world, not just me, but on the entire world. This book affected in a major way. As I said, his son, he wrote a book where, applying the same habits to teenagers. I have 2 teenagers. I have 4 kids, 2 daughters and 2 boys, and my 2 daughters are teenagers now. My daughter is now in Westminster Lyceum. She just got enrolled recently, and she really loves it here in the Lyceum. And she read this book. I have a copy, so I especially kept for them. I brought from the United States. So you see, these habits are universal in nature. They don't choose nationality. They don't choose even time. These human habits that make people. And how did he come up with these habits? Stephen Covey. He came up with these habits, 7 Habits, by talking to famous people, to successful people, and he found these common habits that they shared and made them successful. And so he wrote the book explaining how they work and how all these habits are interrelated with each other. Okay, so now his son is continuing his work, and also more than 5 million copies sold. Another bestseller. Maybe guys like me who read 7 Habits, many years ago, they're buying for their children. Like they want their children to start getting exposed to this great ideas early on. Now, I came across this article, or I came across another presentation of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective PhD Students, but I don't have PhD, so maybe Ustamjon will tell you later about 7 Habits of PhD Students, okay? So, what are habits? Okay, so generally, the habits are the things that we do unknowingly. You know? These are the things that are on autopilot. For example, biting nails when you're nervous, right? This is like autopilot. And generally speaking, we can divide them into good habits and bad habits. Let's start with the good things. So for example, reading a lot and reading regularly, right? It's a good habit. Rather than one night before, okay, I have an exam in marketing, oh my God, I have to stay awake. Just reading regularly, with a bow tie, it's a good habit. Exercising regularly, right, is another habit, right? It's a good habit. And the planning ahead. This guy was not planning ahead when he was making this T-shirt, right? So planning ahead is also one of the good habits. Now, some of the negative habits, right? So, what is this? Thinking negatively, look at this guy, nervous, thinking negatively about the things that's happening in his mind. Feeling inferior, right? Oh, I cannot do this, I'm not prepared to do this, and this kind of, this becomes habitual if you don't control this. And then another thing that we see a lot among people, blame game, right? Blaming others. A lot of people, especially young people who have not matured yet, they kind of just blame each other all the time. I have a 3-year-old son, so every time something happens, I say, "Who did it?" He's like, "My brother." Right? He doesn't want to, he doesn't want to be reprimanded, so he does this automatically. But he's very young. But many people, they do this even when they grow up. So habits are, in a way, are building blocks. Okay? So depending on whether you have these habits, good habits or bad habits, this is the thing that makes you or breaks you in life. So here's a short poem, right? Sow a thought and reap an act. Sow an act and you reap a habit. Sow a habit and reap a character. And sow a character and you reap a destiny. So in a way, that you heard a lot that, destiny is in your own hands, you have to be in control, but you do not just go to destiny. Hey, destiny, I got you, you go the hard way. You have to first change your mind, right? You see, thought. It all starts with a thought. Okay, I have to work on this, right? I have to pay attention more on this one. And then you act on it, and then if you do it regularly, it becomes a habit. And the habits eventually shape a person's character. So, great poem, I think. And one thing that Stephen Covey said, and emphasizing all of his video lessons and audiobooks, is that you are stronger than your habits as a person. You can change them. So you can mold your habits and indirectly affect your destiny. I would like to play a short audio I have prepared about paradigms. So he talked, this is a scientific term. So let's listen to Dr. Stephen Covey. He has PhD.
It also will give you a sense of commitment to the material, simply because you're making a statement when you teach this material.
So he says,
it's socially,
when you learn, you should teach it as well to someone.
Powerfully reinforcing to your own motivation to live the material, to live the principles, to cultivate the habits.
One thing that happens when you agree to teach something is that you change your role. You no longer think of yourself as a student, but as a teacher. In your mind, you have a different role. a different picture of yourself.
If you really want to significantly improve people's behavior, change people's pictures of their roles. I'd like to use a scientific term for a moment to describe what I'm presenting. It's called paradigm. A paradigm is kind of the way you see the world, the way you see the universe. The way you see your role is a paradigm.
Now here's a chance for you to share a paradigm-shifting experience that Dr. Covey had. Work with your mind and empathize with the situation, and see if you don't also experience a paradigm shift.
It was a Sunday morning in New York. I was on a subway, alone. It was a rather quiet morning. The subway was no more than perhaps a third filled. Very unlike, I'm sure, the raucous night before. People were just quietly sitting there, and some were reading their newspapers. It's kind of a pleasant, quiet morning. Now empathize, project your consciousness into the scene. All of a sudden, a man and his children, a large group of children, got onto the subway. And they were so loud and so noisy, so raucous, that instantly the whole climate had changed. The man sat right next to me and did nothing about this whole situation. Everybody was yelling back and forth, throwing things, even grabbing people's papers. I mean, it was very disturbing. So I turned to him after a few minutes and said, "Sir, your children are really disturbing a lot of people. I wonder if you couldn't control them a little more." And he was looking down, kind of lifted his gaze as if to come to a consciousness of the situation, and said, "Oh, I guess I should. We just came from the hospital and their mother just died about an hour ago. And I guess I don't know what to think, and I guess they don't know how to handle it either." Now, do you see that situation differently? I did instantly, as you do. Notice how free, flowing, and spontaneous your attitudes of helpfulness and sympathy are. Notice how your behavior flows from that. I said, "What can I do to help?" See, I wanted to. Look how your attitude and your behavior are a function of your paradigm, of how you see the situation. It isn't what happens to us that affects our behavior. It's our interpretation of what happens to us. And if we can learn to get a better paradigm, get at a different level of thinking, we are on the road to significant improvement.
I'll pause there. So this is from the audiobook by Stephen Covey. I even was lucky enough to attend one of his seminars in Chicago. So he came, when I was a student there, he came to our university as a guest lecturer. That night he was speaking about 7 habits of highly effective families. So like applying the same habits to the family, you know, how to develop better habits in the family life. So I think you better understand the term paradigm. Maybe it's a new word for some of you. Maybe you've heard it before, but it's just the way you look at things, right? So paradigm shift. We need to do paradigm shift, especially the most important paradigm shift is that you can change things. All right? You have, you know, we hear a lot about freedom. Okay? What is that freedom? And in the words of Dr. Stephen Covey, the freedom is between what you know, what happens to you, right? Something happens to you and you respond to it, right? So your freedom is between your response and what happens to you. So you really, life is not about what happens to you. Life is about what you do about what happens to you. Again, I'm quoting Dr. Stephen Covey. So What do you get by applying these 7 habits, by learning and applying the 7 habits in your life? Okay. Some of the things that I actually experienced myself. So I'm not just theoretically talking about this. I've applied these things for over 20 years in my personal life, in my academic and professional life. So you get control of your life more than before by applying these principles and paradigms and these habits. You improve your relationship with your friends, with the people that you study, that you work with. You make smarter decisions in every aspect. You get along with the people around you and overcome even addictions. So food addiction, soft drink addiction. Define your values and what matters most to you. So you will be able to look at things differently and define it in a more clear way. Get more done in less time. Sometimes the most difficult thing for students is to find time to study for everything. Right? So the habits may help you get more out of your time. And of course, increase your self-confidence. You can feel yourself happier and find balance between university, friends, and everything else. You know, this famous triangle, maybe during induction they told you about. So this good grades, good sleep, or enough sleep, and social life. Social life. All right, and condition is you can only choose 2. All right, you can get to choose 2. And now, if you learn the habits, if you read the book and you reflect on this, you will make a better decision on when it comes to this kind of choices in your life and finding balance. Habit number one is to be proactive. Right? So it basically means take responsibility for your life. All right? Successful people take. We need to give coffee to this gentleman right there, whose circumstances are changing. Take responsibility for your life, right? Another way to think about the habit, first habit, is successful people, successful students. So you have to, even in education, so you have to control your resources, control yourself. Be responsible for your academic life. Don't expect the course leader to do everything for you. Don't expect the teacher to remind you about, approaching deadline or some approaching exam. Take control of your life. Be responsible for your life. This is what principle habit number 1 teaches. A reactive, opposite of reactive, or proactive is reactive. Reactive people, reactive students, they blame all their problems on others. Their teachers, their neighborhood, for example, it's too noisy, I can never study. Or library is too crowded, or that's why I'm not up to date with all the reading. So, again, we can control, as similar to this drawing here, we can control one thing in life. We can control our response to what happens to us, all right? And that's totally up to us. How we respond to different pressures, different opportunities, difficulties. This is where your freedom lies. Now, proactive people, you see balance, proactive people. Some of the qualities of proactive people and proactive students, they're not easily offended. They take responsibility for their choices. They always think before they act. They bounce back when something bad happens. And for example, as a student, it happened that for one reason or another, I got low mark on the midterm exam, or one of the courseworks, I failed. But I bounced back, and I was able to get A- in the end by doing some extra credit assignments and by preparing extra hard for the exam, so much that on the exam day, everybody else was studying. I was just lying on the grass and waiting for exam to start so I could enter the classroom. So I was so confident that I knew everything. I wish you knew the same thing, like when you prepare for exams, like on the exam day, a couple hours before the class, we have grass here, right? Just lie down and like, I'm ready. Bring it on. So this feeling will come to you if you apply this and try to be more proactive. Always find a way to make it happen. So find a way to make the assignments on time, for example, keep your promises. Focus on things they can do something about. Don't worry about things they cannot change. For example, we all have circle of concern. Like it's big circle. Actually, it cannot fit this board. Circle of concern is so big. So, for example, you worry about ecology, ecological problems. You worry about the wars throughout the world, different kind of other social problems. But this big one is the circle of concern. But there is a smaller circle in the middle of that, and this is circle of influence. These are the things that you can actually change. So, of course you should think about all these things, but don't spend all your energy and your time, doing all these things while leaving out what you can actually change. By studying, right? By dedicating yourself to your profession, by improving your English, for example, by improving computer skills. These are the things that you can change. And if you are successful here, your circle of influence will expand. Then you can influence bigger things. Okay? So many people, they're lost here, on Facebook, on news, on YouTube, and so on, the things that they worry about, for example, political news, or it could be social problems worldwide, while leaving out what is most important, the center, the circle of influence. So successful students, they're actually working on their circle of influence by sharpening their knowledge, by working on their skills continuously. Now, reactive people, they're like carbonated drinks, pop. In America they say pop, carbonated drinks, If life shakes them up, they pop up, because, they are not prepared to handle pressure, they're not prepared to respond to things in a meaningful way. So they pop up, they drop everything, they cry, and so they're easily offended, they blame others, they get angry and say things that they later regret about. They whine and complain, wait for things to happen to them, okay, and change only when they have to. And the opposite, the proactive people, they make choices based on values. Again, this is one of the key terms used in the book many times. Values, focusing on their values, and then think before they act. They can recognize they cannot control everything. What happens to them? Circle of concern, right? Those things are happening to us, like RLC is happening, Afghanistan is happening, Syria is happening, and in one way or another, psychologically, these things are affecting us. But they can control what they do about it. What they do about it is working on their own skills as scholars, as professionals. They're calm and cool, they're in control, just like still water, right? They're still water. So, that's why next time you talk with someone on the phone, or next time you just having conversation face to face, listen to your language, what you're saying. Your language displays your attitude, how you are, what kind of person you are. So, do you blame circumstances for your situation? Like circumstances, oh, life happened to me. Do you make the best out of your situation? This is totally different, trying to make the best out of the situation. And this is sample list of sentences used by reactive students versus proactive students, language-wise. So reactive people say, I will try. Proactive people say, I'll do it. I'll do it because I'm ready for it. I've been preparing for this. That's just the way I am. So they're not trying to change themselves. I can do better than that next time. You get a low grade on the exam or coursework, I can do better than that. I can do it. Next one is, there is nothing I can do about it. Let's look at all our options. Let's look at all our options. How, for example, we can make the best out of this assignment or a task. I have to. Many people, reactive people, they do this because they have to. But proactive people, they choose to. I can't. There's got to be a way. I have to find a way. And you ruined my day, I'm not going to let you bad mood rub off on me. Right? They say, basically another favorite statement from the book is that proactive people, they carry their own weather. How do you feel like when it's a rainy day, like your mood is changed by that, When it's a sunny day, like, today it's a really nice day. So outside changes in the weather, they affect people's behavior and mood. But proactive people, they mentally, they have their own weather, which they like the most, and outside weather, it doesn't affect them as much as the other kind of people. Habit number 2. Now, habit number 1, you all wrote down? Habit number 1, what is? Be proactive, right? Habit number 1, be proactive. Habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind, okay? Think about building a house, okay? If you build a house, do you just start, all right, today I'm going to make the door, and you just start nailing things on the, somewhere in the corner you start, no. You start by drawing your house, right? This is like the drawing of 1-bedroom apartment or house, right? So you have where the window is, where the bed, where the toilet seat. You have to think about everything, right? Why don't you think about that way about your life? Can you think an architect or builder just, building a house from anywhere and thinking, oh, it's going to become a house later on. I'm just starting with, making a door. And then window will appear somewhere later, okay? And then, door handles will be somewhere around here. Architects, they always start with a drawing in their minds, and then they put it on paper, on the computer, and then this becomes a real house. Likewise, when you're doing a project or when you're doing an assignment, you're learning some subject, or you're becoming, you're trying to get the master's degree. You have to have a plan where all these things fit, and then act on it. So you have to have the final picture in your mind. Actually, you might be interested in one of the new but quickly developing area in science is success studies. 7Habits is also results of this. It's a result of success studies. Studying the experience of successful people in sports, in arts, in politics, in business, and trying to say what is common among them, right? And one of the common things that the scientists discovered is that before basketball player shoots this 3-pointer, he already did this in his mind. Before the spaceman, the astronaut walks on the moon or walks on the outer space, he did it already in his mind. And he did it in simulated conditions. In Dubai now, they're building like Mars, simulated condition of Mars. Like that. For every mission, they build underwater or in laboratories special simulated condition where people actually do it, so they see how it's going to happen. Of course, you cannot always simulate things, but you can always simulate it in your mind. So people can visually first see the result, and then it becomes easier when you see the end. All right? Always, before you start on something, on a coursework, on assignment, like if we turn this to academic thing, you have to see what kind of result you want, what kind of response you want to see from the audience who is grading your presentation or grading your paper, right? And I always say to my students doing their coursework, I want to see masterpiece, right? I want to see masterpiece, so I want to be like, after just reading a few pages, not all, but even a few pages of your paper, I'm like, I want to be, wow, all right? Impressive, right? So, and you should see this in your mind before you start. So this is more complex drawing, right? Life is more complex. So the only easy day was yesterday. There's a saying, you know, this American Marines. So it will get more difficult, your plans will get more complex, and so on, but you should not drop it and just do it in the old way. I'll just start with the door and then the house will appear. You have to have the map of the, whatever you're doing, so this becomes habit that affects every aspect of your life. So in the words of Benjamin Franklin, I love this. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. It's a play of words, but really nice, right? So if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Wordplay. So if students are not clear about what they want to end up in life, not just academic life, because this is going to affect your career, your personal lives. So about their values, goals, and what they stand for, they will just waste their time. And I've seen people wasting their time, even at Westminster sometimes, unfortunately. And create a personal mission statement which will act as a roadmap and direct and guide your decision-making process. And it's better if you put it on paper, right? So when you put it on paper, it is also written on your mind in a deeper way. So just having the goal in your mind is not enough. I advise you, and he advises, to write this down. And I want to show you a short video about the third habit now. What is the first habit? Be proactive. Second habit? Begin with the end in mind. So the third habit is put first things first. Put first things first. It's about prioritizing, right? It's about priorities. This habit helps students prioritize and manage their time so that they focus on and complete the most important things in their lives. Putting first things first also means learning to overcome fears and being strong during difficult times. It's living life according to what matters most. So I have a short video where Dr. Stephen Covey explains this in one gathering. It's called Big Rocks. This is from YouTube.
Elizabeth, you've got, you hold this. Very, very busy life, right? You have a work life, family life as well, children, yeah. What's the nature of your work, son? Consulting. You have a part of a firm, consulting firm?
Yeah, I direct an international firm.
An international firm. So you really are interfacing with all kinds of people in the firm and outside the firm.
That's right.
You also do direct work with the clients yourself?
That's right.
And you have a number of associates you work with all around this country and throughout the world? Starting?
Yeah.
Kind of like us. You want a rich personal life and a rich family life and also community and so forth. Do you ever feel like you get bogged down in the thick of thin things?
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like your life is kind of out of balance, out of whack?
It can be.
Do you ever feel like you're in the pounding surf? You know, where you just have one big wave after another knock you down, you stagger back, and here comes another wave, and another one knocks you down to where it just kind of beats you up. Well, that might be analogous to all these little, small things that tend to fill our life. And they just little by little, they just accumulate. Now, your job, you can't go above this. It's to get all those large rocks in the jar. Good luck. I'll describe each of the rocks as she puts them in. What's that one called?
Q2, planning, preparation.
Right. Planning, preparation, prevention, and empowerment. Q2. That which is not urgent but important.
Right. Am I picking these up in any order?
Any way you want. You want to get them all in there because they're all important.
Should I make a blue?
Well, you have the little rocks as they are now, but you can't go above this.
Okay. Can I put this down?
Sure. Okay, the next rock you're putting in there is called relationships and family.
Some of you have families, right?
Trying to make it so she can get them all in there on the assumption that by moving the other ones around, it makes more space. You look at that third rock you put in there, that's employment, some key employment issue, and then you put major projects here, and I can't get it above there.
That's coursework.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's fair. That's called Service Community Church. Do you ever feel like this?
Yes.
How many feel like this? Yeah, you can try to get them in there. You're a hands-on person. She just put down to sharpen the saw.
I'll explain this later.
Sharpen the saw. I just don't have time today to sharpen the saw. You ever been too busy driving to take time to get gas? Vacation. Vacation's important to her. By moving the little things around, you might squeeze in one more of those big major things. It's almost. Wow. You know, if it doesn't fit, force it. Well, no. You can neglect a big opportunity if you want. Here's something that's called urgent and important. It's a quadrant one thing that is blindsiding you, that it's your biggest client, that if you don't get back to that client now, you've given up your vacation. And you have no special block of time just for yourself. You have no young children.
Shuffling things around. Does it remind you
I'll
something?
tell you what you can do if you want to. You can take a whole different approach. You have a totally fresh bowl. you can work out of a different paradigm altogether. You can do anything you want.
So I can use that bucket. That's what you're saying.
Anything, yeah.
Well, I'd rather put these in the bottom. And then for the little pebble on the top.
Okay, she has sharpening the saw, planning, preparation, spouse,
Vacation.
employment,
Big opportunity.
big opportunity,
Important and urgent. Block of time. Community. Church. Those young children keep looking at me. My husband's not here. No, I don't. These in there.
okay?
Gonna work.
You got all the important things in first, right?
That's all right.
Well, thanks for watching. I think it's clear enough, right? So, putting the most important things first, right? And then filling, if there is some space left, filling with the small things like, going out for shopping. This can be done between big things, right? Not doing shopping and then thinking, oh, I have an exam tomorrow, or I have a deadline tomorrow. Actually, one thing about deadlines, they are the last day to submit the coursework, but you can submit before. You know? That many people did not know till master's degree. Alright? So it's like on the last day, my favorite sport is, now our registrar is on this other building. So I just look out of the window, 5 p.m. on the deadline day, and I watch people running there. Girls on high heels, guys, like fat guys running there before 5 p.m., right? Because they kept postponing by, being busy with little things, right? So you have to do these things first and then, set yourself even false deadline. So if that motivates you, if deadlines motivate you, then set yourself a false deadline and be done by that time. So you can just lie down on the grass and relax on the deadline day. Okay? So I try to speed up our presentation from here. The next habit is think win-win. That's habit number 4. So does this picture illustrate enough? So who is winning here and who's losing? So these two guys, group mates, they're working really hard to make progress, to make things move. And this guy is winning by not getting tired, by not sweating and not contributing. Does it remind you from bachelor's years of the free riders? The term free rider was taken from this picture. Right? He's getting the free ride while everyone else is doing the job. They're trying to do their part. So students can learn to foster the belief that it is possible to create an atmosphere of win-win in every relationship. So you try to work out a win-win relationship and try to help in every way you can to be part of this project, group project, coursework, an assignment. This habit encourages the idea that in any given discussion or situation, both parties or all the parties can arrive at mutually beneficial solution. Learn to celebrate the accomplishments of others instead of being threatened by them. Okay? So, let's count. We have so far 4 habits, right? First, be proactive. Second, begin with the end in mind. 3, put the first things first. And 4, think win-win. Now we go to the 5th habit, which many people lack, including students. Not only in classroom, but outside of classroom when they're doing discussion or anything. People like speaking. Most people don't like listening. Even when they're listening, they're not listening 100%. In their minds, they're already preparing a response. What I'm going to say, I'm going to hit this person's opinion, with something sharp. No. This habit number 5 goes, seek first to understand. So first, in any communication, you have to understand, try to understand first, and then be understood. Okay? So if you don't understand well, you can never respond well, and you can never actually make the best out of the information that you receive. Most people don't listen very well. One of the great frustrations in life is that many don't feel understood. Because they don't understand, they don't feel understood. So this habit, this is like active listening. This habit, like you watching every sound wave, like paying attention to every word. This habit ensures you learn the most important communication skill there is, active listening. Active listening, especially when you're a student, you have to be an active listener. Next habit, that's about courseworks. Habit number 6, synergize. The synergy is really one of those $1 million words, right? It's achieved when 2 or more people work together to create something better than either could alone. Right? All these projects, all these business plans. Synergy allows students to value differences and better appreciate others. For example, some people pay more attention to the numeric side, some people to the qualitative aspects of the assignment or the exam. Even so, you can apply this habit in exam preparation, in courseworks, in discussing before class, for example, cases. You could discuss online, you could discuss face-to-face. So trying to get the best picture and the most out of your learning process. Through this habit, learn that doesn't have to be your way or my way, but rather a better way, right? So you try to find a better way by combining many people's efforts. Stephen Covey describes different kinds of levels of dependency. There is dependence, there is independence. You know this difference, right? Depends and independence. But there is the most important thing in life that many people forget. That's interdependence. Interdependence. And especially in the university, in academia, you are interdependent. Success of others help you become more successful. You cannot succeed on your own. And especially in marketing, we give you group coursework. So you have to try to get the most out of your group abilities and knowledge. And habit number 7 is sharpen the saw. It's, Americans understand it like this. Sharpening the saw. It means regularly renewing and strengthening the 4 key dimensions of your life. Body, brain, heart, and soul. Body, brain, heart, and soul. What is inside, okay? So, basically, staying motivated is one thing. Staying fit, physically fit, is another. I have an illustration for this, right? Students should never get too busy with studying to take time to renew themselves. So, I'm too busy, I'm not exercising this month or this week. I'm too busy, I'm not going to listen to this nice music to kind of get more energized. You know, I'm not listening to music for 1 month. All these things have to be in balance and they have to be continuous for you to be successful. So when a student sharpens the saw, he or she is keeping their personal self sharp so that he or she can better deal with life and with assignments and difficulties of academic life. So now we do a quick review of these 7 habits. Here they are. We can take a picture of this. Actually, when I searched on YouTube, I came up with more than 170,000 videos and video clips of Stephen Covey. Right? He applied this into business, in family life, academic life, different ages. But these are the principles. These are the habits. They are timeless. So, and many people have been benefiting from this. And in conclusion, I would like to leave you with a quote from Stephen Covey, which goes, "The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing." And what this main thing is, you have to determine yourself. Thank you very much for your attention. If there are some quick questions, I'm going to